Gear doesn't matter. I guess you can see me and hear me right, don't you? Now check this out. That's a bit better. That's because gear does matter, and we're gonna talk about it right after the intro. I'm so glad to welcome you to a new video here on my channel. If it's the first time to tune in, my name is Mamo. I'm a content creator based in London. On my channel, you will find filmmaking tips, camera gear reviews, and everything related to content creation. I want to destroy the myth that a lot of YouTubers are throwing out there that gear does not matter when we're talking about video making and photography. YouTubers, stop saying that. I would love to see a conversation between you and Tim Burton or Scorsese or Tarantino saying, you know, dude, I don't think you should shoot your next Batman movie on an Arri Alexa, but grab my iPhone 3. I want to be there when that happens. And the funny thing is also that most of the YouTubers that say that, sometimes including myself, we're actually reviewing the latest camera equipment, the latest released products, which cost a lot of money sometimes. So we really can't say that gear does not matter, even because sometimes we are filming ourselves, like right now, with a £5,000 setup. Now, if you're a vlogger and you have the hobby to take photos and videos, well, you might get away with any gear you actually own. But if you want to take video making, filmmaking as a professional career and you want to level up your game, well, then you need to consider that gear actually matters. As a video maker, you might end up working on a different project each time. So for each shoot, you will need specific gear. I completely agree with the line that says the story is the key. So the story of a video, of a film, of course, is key. But to tell a story the right way, you need the right piece of equipment. Also because each individual tool needs to serve the purpose and the style of the video or film you're shooting. I really hope you watched my latest 2 videos as well, where I talk about handheld shooting, because that's a specific cinematography style you might be interested in, so go and check it out. And it's very important to know how to shoot handheld as well for your filmmaking. I want to share a few examples of different shoots where you need specific camera equipment. For example, let's talk about interviews. Usually when I interview someone, I want the camera on a tripod. And that's not just me. If you watch all the interviews out there on TV, the camera is usually steady on a tripod because you want your audience to focus on what your subject is talking about. Let's say you're holding the camera handheld and you might shake. That's going to distract the audience and they're not going to be focused on the actual talk, on the actual subject of the speech. And talking about interviews, sometimes you will have to interview someone for an hour in a row without being able to actually stop the subject talking, and you need a long battery life. So my normal batteries last 15 minutes and that would not be enough for that specific shoot. So I need a V-mount plate with V-mount batteries that can last up to 2 hours. Again, for interviews, microphone is key. There are different types of microphones you could use during an interview. You could use a directional mic, a shotgun mic, on a boomstick if your subject is quite close to the camera. But if the subject is far away from the camera, you might need a lapel mic, a wireless lapel mic. So all this stuff is something you want to keep in mind, and again, gear does matter. I mentioned before, the story is key, but also the right tool is key to tell the story in the right way. A good way to tell a story is to pull the focus. The focus is fundamental when you want to shift the attention from a subject to another. Certain devices don't allow you to do that. For example, an action camera, you can't do that on an action camera. On old mobile phones, you can't do that. But if you have a good lens with a follow focus system, well, you'll be able to tell your story in a better way. It's a great way to highlight a character over another. If you're shooting in low light conditions, well, you need a camera and a lens that can support you with that and that can deal with the noise, low light noise. I mentioned action cameras, and that's something you might need if you're shooting something underwater and you don't have the budget for a proper water case with a big camera. Also, sometimes you have to hike over mountains and you don't want to carry really heavy gear. The choice of your gear matters. And of course, action cameras are great for POV or FPV shots when you want to see the character perspective. So you can literally place these cameras everywhere on their head, in the mouth or on the chest, the different limbs of the body and so on. So you can't really put heavier rigs for that purpose on the person. Lenses, for example, if I'm shooting landscape, I want an establishing shot. I need a pretty wide lens to show to my audience the settings, where we are, what we're doing. But if I want, for example, highlight the loneliness of a character in a room, then I want to be far away from the character with a long lens, maybe a 70-200 lens, again to highlight the sadness of the place and the character himself or herself. Nowadays, drones are just flying over our heads every day, and those are a great tool for establishing shots. Again, I can show the landscapes, I can show environment, the weather. I could highlight, for example, the tiny size of a human being compared to the majesty of nature. Sliders, there's not a better tool than a slider to film, for example, real estate or product photography, because that's the steadier and smoother shot you can possibly get, and it just looks so professional. You also can find automatic sliders. If you're on your own, you can film yourself also with some movements, because you can control the slider through a remote controller, and I could not achieve that specific shot without an automatic slider, on my own, of course. Well, I just gave you a few examples right there, and you can find all the camera equipment and gear I talked about in my channel. So go and check all my reviews, the different tests and videos I've done previously. You will find a lot of stuff right there. As you can see, in the end, camera gear does matter big time. So don't believe what others say. And of course, with this video, I'm not telling you you need to own all the gear, but what I'm trying to say is that you need to understand the importance of the gear. You need to be able to understand what gear you need for a specific shoot. And most importantly, you need to understand how to use that gear as well. Of course, you can buy gear if you have the budget, but also don't forget that you can hire the gear. There are different apps and websites from where you can rent a specific piece of gear for a day, a week, and so on. You can test it out and practice, and that's the key. Practice. Hire some gear, go out there, keep practicing, experiment, and master the craft. Also, you can buy the gear and rent it out yourself, so you can make some extra money out of it and repay for the actual expenses. Or you can just launch a camera gear review channel, as I've done, and through that you can actually grab some free stuff from the companies and then again rent it out or sell it. So why not? Well, that's all for today. I hope I could share something interesting and something you could learn. And if you did, don't be shy, hit the subscribe button. It's just a very simple and kind act towards my work for you guys. So please support the channel, hit the subscribe button and the like button. All the interaction you have with my video will help me out, so go ahead. Also, because if you don't, you're missing out. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Ciao belli.